Welcome to MDL Crochet. My name is Michael, your host and everything for MDL Crochet, and this is episode 1 of Beyond the Yarn Studio podcast. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about my introduction and my journey into Tunisian crochet and get to know me a little bit more. Well, first off, my channel is nothing but Tunisian crochet. I will incorporate regular crochet every now and then, but it is going to be 99.9% Tunisian crochet. Now, my journey in crochet started when I was 14. That was 33 years ago. And it started by my grandmother. We had a bad blizzard where I lived, and school was out. They canceled school, so I was bored. And we didn't have cable television. We just had the over-the-air stations, which wasn't many. So I just asked her to teach me to crochet. Well, she taught me how to make a chain, a single crochet, double crochet, and triple crochet. And I just went with it and made some blankets and scarves and just I enjoyed it. Then when I graduated high school, I went into the Navy. Didn't really pick it up much while I was in the Navy. But most of my time I was in the Navy, I was stationed with the Marines. I was a hospital corpsman, and the Navy supplies medical to the Marine Corps, so I was mainly with Marines, and I didn't get to pick it back up until 2001. And that's when I met my other half. He was crocheting a granny square blanket. I'm like, oh, I know how to crochet. And didn't believe me, so went out and got yarn and a needle and started just crocheting away, and pretty much haven't put it down since. And then about 14 or 15 years ago, I was making a blanket for my mother-in-law, but I didn't like, I guess you could say, the gaps in regular crochet. I didn't like them. I wanted something warm. I wanted something solid. I didn't want to get into weeding because we just didn't have the space for any of that stuff. So I was Googling around and I came across this picture and I liked it. And I'm like, what is this? And of course, I did search YouTube. There wasn't anything really out there. And so I read the directions, picked up my needle, and made a 10 stitch by 10 stitch, a 10 stitch by 10 row swatch. And I liked how thick it was. So I just kind of kept going and going. And I liked it. So I ended up, made a long strip just playing with it and learning the different stitches because I learned all what I consider the base 5. I learned the base 5 first. And the base 5 to me is the simple stitch, full stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, and reverse stitch. Because if you learn those 5, you can learn about 90% of the other stitches out there. Because in my honest opinion, they require 2 or more of the base stitches, or they incorporate some aspects of the base stitches, just like with full stitch. It's a 2-row repeat, and each row offsets each other. Well, you kind of need to know offsets to do the honeycomb, smock, seed, double seed, lattice, the alpine stitch, and quite a few others. And I just went with it. So I liked what I had, and I went to Walmart and it was about 15 years ago and got an Afghan hook. And the Afghan hooks are about 1.5 to 2 feet long. And, the hook size I got, I still have to this day, was a 6.5, which ends up being my favorite hook size. And so I made my first scarf. And believe it or not, I fit a whole blanket on that. It was tight, but I was able to fit a whole blanket and do my very first throw on an Afghan hook. As soon as I did that, and I loved how it looked, I liked how thick the fabric was or how solid the fabric was, I ordered my first set of interchangeable cabled Tunisian hooks. And I believe they were the Knitter's Pride Dreams that were in a flimsy plastic pouch, but the hooks were beautiful, and I just started creating blankets. I learned a lot of stitches doing that. And so I accumulate all these stitches that I know, about 417 as of right now, and that is stitches and stitch patterns because ribbing is considered a stitch pattern. I created a stitch pattern in the knotted ridge. Honeycomb is considered a stitch pattern. Basket weave is a stitch pattern. There's quite a few stitches that are stitch patterns. I wanted to be able to get all these in one place without having to go to different YouTube channels or different websites so people can have them all in one place without having to do all the hunting around. So that's why I started my YouTube channel, is I wanted to be able to get all these stitches in one place, have them all documented, and maybe make an item with that stitch. Now, I don't do that with every stitch, but I do that with certain stitches that I know would look great in a project. So I'll release a stitch that same week or following week. I'll release something made with that stitch in it because I'd like to show the possibilities of what can be done with a stitch. Now you can change it to whatever you want, but seeing a stitch in a swatch versus made up in a blanket or made up in a sweater or made up in a hat or made up in a bag, you know, or even in a scarf. I think that opens your perspective more to what the possibilities are and opens up your mind as well to what you can create. I think seeing that stitch created into an item opens up your creativity. So I just want to be able to get all these stitches in one place, have them all where people can just access them all they want. Now, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea when it comes to teaching, and I understand that. And, some of these other YouTubers, they're not my cup of tea when it comes to their teaching. But everybody learns differently. I base mine around being repetitive, being slow, talking you through, and telling you step by step what we're doing. Some don't do that. They find it tedious or they find it like demeaning. I don't. I find it informative that I do it that way. And a lot of us learn by repetition. So that's why I do the whole repeat, repeat, repeat constantly. So that's pretty much my Tunisian journey. Now, get to know me a little bit more. I am a male, I am a disabled veteran. I, just like all of us, we all have mental health issues. Some are minor, some are not. But everybody has issues and everybody needs an outlet for them. I use Tunisian crochet as my outlet. It keeps me focused on whatever I'm making, so it keeps my mind busy off of what I am going through, either on my pain or in my mental health, or even from stressors from, the outside world. Crochet is a great stress reliever. It is in my honest opinion, and I'm not a medical professional, I just played one on TV, but in my honest opinion, crochet is really great, regardless of what style crochet or knitting that you do, is really great for mental health because you're keeping your mind busy, you're still exercising your mind, and you're not worrying about your stressors. I like to create. I love creating things. I like taking a stitch and just making something out of it. It could be a whole project out of nothing but that stitch, but my goal is, like I said, is to show you that stitch. But that is my journey and pretty much a little bit about me. I hope to see you again for the next podcast. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button and leave me a comment because I like to chit chat. So until next time, folks, keep stitching.